A very good evening, viewers. In today's class, we are going to do the IUPAC nomenclature for compounds containing aldehydic group along with the carboxylic acid group. The carboxylic acid group looks like this. And as you can clearly see, the carbon here has already got 3 bonds satisfied, has got only one more to go, hence it will be terminal. So you may not mention the position. While an aldehydic group is having a structural formula of this. As you can see, in this case also, the carbon has already got 3 bonds, has one more to go. This would also be at the end. If you have a carboxylic acid, according to IUPAC nomenclature, the suffix used is oic acid. You may not mention the position. While if you have an aldehyde, the suffix used is al. You may not mention the position again. The problem arises if the compound has both of them. Now what? You cannot use two suffixes of the functional groups in the same compounds. In that case, you need to know the priority order. In the priority order, please keep a note of it. Carboxylic acid is the top priority group. Since it is the top priority group, it would always be given as number 1. While aldehydic group in the presence of a carboxylic acid cannot be called as a suffix, you will have to use it as a prefix. The prefix option for an aldehydic groups are 2. One is oxo, like a ketone. The second is formyl. In some books, aldo word is also used, but we would be taking into account only oxo and formyl. And there is a difference when you name them as oxo and formyl, which would be clear with this particular example. For the given example, you can clearly see you have a carboxylic acid group and you have an aldehydic group. Priority wise, an acid has a higher priority than aldehyde. Therefore, the numbering is from the right. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Now, when you use oxo, you do not include, when you use oxo, you include the carbon in the parent chain. That is, include the carbon. And when you use formyl, you exclude the carbon of the aldehyde group. So the first way of doing it is with oxo. So at the 4th position, you have, after the 4th position, at the 5th position, you have a oxo group. So the name would be 5-oxo pentanoic acid. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 carbons, you've counted them all. So pentanoic acid, the double bond O is taken into account as an oxo. Now, if you want to name it as a formyl, in that case, the carbon of the aldehyde group is excluded from the parent chain. Hence, you remove this group from the parent chain. Now your parent chain only has 4 carbons. So the name would be butanoic acid. And at the 4th position, you have got the group called as formyl. So you can either call it as 5-oxopentanoic acid or you may call it as 4-formyl butanoic acid. We'll take up one more example to get a clearer picture. That's the carboxylic acid. That's the alkene. That's the keto. And that's it. Instead of taking an aldehyde this time, I'm taking a ketone group. And carboxylic acid still has the highest priority. And we know that this would be called as a prefix, which can be oxo or can be keto. Since it always comes in between the chain, there is no question of excluding a keto group from the chain. Your parent chain begins numbering from this side. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7 carbons. So the name would become within hept. You cannot call it as an ane because of the presence of a double bond at carbon number 3. So it is hept 3-ene. Apart from that, it is an oic acid as the suffix because that's the higher priority group. So you may write 1 oic acid. You've done this, you've done this, you're left with this group. This it can be called as an oxo or a keto at carbon number 6. So I'm mentioning it as 6-oxo hept 3-ene 1 oic acid. The E will have to be removed as you have got two suffixes, and the second suffix, if begins with a vowel, the E of the first suffix has to be removed. So your name finally ends up with 6-oxo hept 3-ene. You may even mention oic acid directly because the first position may not be mentioned since the carboxylic acid is a highest priority terminal group. The other way of naming this compound could also be 6-keto hept 3-ene oic acid. With this we end the class.